Hey folks, Dr. Rob Jones here, heydrrob.com with my good friend Lisa Allen at Lisa Allen Fitness, explaining to you guys her journey of pain and dysfunction to beast mode and lots of function. Okay, so one thing that Lisa wanted to touch on that she found profound was once we got her doing bilateral work, meaning squatting without pain, deadlifting without pain, and RDLing without pain, using the system and going through the checklist of having your neck neutral, having your chest and ribs in a good position, intra-abdominal pressure, hip hinging. She said because of her instability in her lower back, she always had problems with kind of like an ambulation pattern, what to do, where her body needed to go with doing things like a pull that's similar to walking or anything athletic where you had to cross over the midline of your body. So let's talk about how the body functions. So let's turn you this way. Okay, she's gonna take a step forward with her left foot. Now naturally when that happens, when you walk, you're gonna go opposite, okay? And the reason being is with this leg forward, she's getting a stretch through the hamstring and glute that's tying up across the opposite side through her lat and the fascia of her upper arm. And that's to create like a springing effect or like a pulling on a rubber band or pulling a bow. Now let's extrapolate that to walking the other direction. So let's step forward with your right leg, okay? And then we're gonna go opposite in the other direction. So again, it's a springing back motion. So we wanted her to basically be able to get used to springing back and getting that natural motion because her brain didn't know what to do. It was kind of messing everything up. She didn't know how to translate through those movements. And what we're really trying to do is work these slings, okay? You have something in your body called a posterior oblique sling that runs, again, back of the arm, lat, down through the thoracodorsal fascia into the glute and hamstring. So when she walks, she can just literally swing. Go ahead and step. And it's kind of a little unnatural here because we don't have a treadmill, but again, it's to get you to swing and sling from side to side, basically. So what we did, one of her favorite moves now, is we took a couple of weights, and again, we always go through the checklist with Lisa. So let's have you talk about your checklist. Let's tell everybody what you say in your head.
So in my head, I go from top down. So I always pack my neck, and then I do my intra-abdominal pressure, and then I figure out where my feet need to be depending on the movement. And so I place my feet, and then from there I fire my glutes in the pattern that the movement demands.
Okay, so we're going to do a split movement here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to step forward with the left foot. Okay. Now, what we want to make sure we do when we're stepping forward with the left foot to get anchored to do this lift we're going to go through the checklist, so we're going to pack the neck in. Now, she's going to use her back foot, and she's going to really drive that back foot into the ground to get her glute to fire, because that's going to contribute to her stability. She's going to go intra-abdominal pressure. Now let's clean the weight up to your shoulders. Okay, good. And you can see her come up a little bit on her back toe, and that's going to give her more glute activation. Now to get the cross pattern from her left side to her right side, she's going to press up here, and then she's going to bring it back down, all the while keeping intra-abdominal pressure, and then she's going to step back with her foot and go back to neutral. Okay, now let's step again. Right foot, we're going to get the anchoring point through the glute and the right foot, anchor here. We're going to press from here and then down, keeping the intra-abdominal pressure the whole time. And let's bring it back. Now let's go ahead and switch. Okay, so we're going to step forward with the right. Okay, now her left glute becomes her anchor point. Intra-abdominal pressure, checklist. Now she's going to push from here. And again, cross pattern. Okay, left to right. Okay, let's step back. Let's do one more time. So step forward, glute contraction. Wrong side.
Oh.
See?
Case in point.
Yep, this is why we practice, right? There we go. Awesome. So contralateral pattern. So this gets you can take a break. This gets your body into the natural patterns of how you should be moving. When you've been injured, chronically for years and years and a couple of decades really, your brain's like, oh, I don't know what to do. So we have to retrain those mechanisms so you have better movement and better movement and better movement, so it ties in. So if you have to make a dynamic movement, it starts to become ingrained again like it did when we were younger prior to injury. Now let's put those down and let's use a mace bell, and we'll go in through that same patterning, okay? So I'm gonna have you pick the side you wanna do here, but the beautiful thing about a mace bell is it forces you to contract your core, because basically as that bell starts to get away, as the center of gravity of the bell gets pulled away, it tries to drag you with it. So you have to really use your core to stop that motion, but we can still get into this same patterning where that back foot becomes an anchor point, and then that back glute turns on so we can be very stable, get good hip extension, and not have to compensate through the back. So let me go ahead and do that. So again, you pick the side and we'll talk about what we're doing here.
Okay.
So go ahead and make the movement. So here she is, she's stabilized through her back foot, okay? And basically she's flicking that mace bell because she's a beast, but what we're doing is she's stabilized here, she's contracting her core, and she's going through the dynamic motion with the stabilization point. Let's go ahead and do the other side now. So we go right foot forward, left foot back. We're driving this back foot into the ground. The glute is firing, and she's going to move this mace bell around. She's getting some arm work, and she's getting a tremendous amount of core work, but she's training that cross body pattern. Now let's stay right here and just do some on this side, okay? So let's just go ahead and lift it up to the center, okay? Good, now let's take it bicep to the right. So drop it down in behind you, straighten the arm. There we go. Now you can see she's super anchored. The mace bell's trying to pull her around. Let's go ahead and bring it back up. Okay? And she's super stable. I can even give her a little perturbation push, and look how stable she is. She doesn't move, okay? Even though she's got a 10-pound mace bell in front of her. Do a couple more reps there. There you go. Now we're training that cross pattern. As that mace bell drops down, she starts getting a bigger stretch, and her core has to work really hard to maintain that patterning. Now let's go ahead and face the camera. Now let's go into an overhead. So switch your stance, okay? Now we're going to use that right side. Now let's take that bell. Let's move this hand down a little bit, okay? Now let's take that bell and let's come up over your left side. So now we're getting a monster oblique stretch through here, and she's getting good glute stabilization, and she's getting that good separation all through her posterior anterior oblique sling. Now let's bring that back down. And she's basically working in that design that we're designed to work in, okay? As we walk, we want these slings to stretch because it becomes like a greater efficiency of movement, okay? If you watch somebody who's injured move, they're kind of bent over. You see that little old lady with a cane or the little old man with a walker. Their inefficiency of movement is really, it's there and it's bad. I hate watching it. I want to go and help them. Basically what they're doing is they're just kind of hanging on their ligaments. They're hanging on their joints because they don't have that proper neurological patterning that we're basically born with, and we develop as we move along from crawling to bear crawling to ambulation as toddlers. And then again, chronic injury, we lose that basically. So,
and what Rob's had to point out to me, and the importance of having an incredible mentor like this, is my brain, when I'm here, thinks that's normal. And so if you don't have somebody to point out to you, that's not normal, here's where you need to be, you just don't realize how forward bending you are.
Yeah, so that's why we talk about checking in with yourself every single rep. I mean, these are complicated movements, okay? So if you're going to use a mace bell and start flinging it around, you really want to check in with yourself. Even though this isn't very heavy for me, I will still make sure my feet are gripping the ground. I'll make sure my core is contracted and my glutes are squeezed as I go through that movement, because I don't want to end up with this bad compensatory pattern. So These are just some more things to be aware of and some more things to practice. But if you really get good at all your checklist, intra-abdominal pressure, using your glute for stability, and start practicing some offset movement, leg back, pushing up overhead, you'll feel the mobility come back in your hips, you'll feel the stability come back in your core, and you'll feel your strength and function come back. So hope you like this. Don't forget
Then
to
you'll
click.
feel your happiness come back.
Yeah, exactly. Hope you like this. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe, follow us on the socials, and as always, don't forget to protect your back.